What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Bet Leveling Show. I'm Alan. I'll be hosting the 11-game NBA slate that we have going on today. I hope everyone's Monday is going great. I'm going to go dive deep into the insights, the ins and outs of every single game we have going on today, and then I'll give you guys my 4 favorite player prop play. We were off literally by 1, which I will show you guys how much we were off by, but literally by a 0.5, or I think it was 1.5, either or, but so close to cashing out yesterday. Tyrese Maxey let us down a bit, but we're going to run it back again today and get this cash out. So see you guys on the flip. Let's just jump straight into the insights here. Before we go into the insights here, let's go over a quick recap. So as you guys can see, Tyrese Maxey let us down big time. I had him at 36.5, which is crazy because I was contemplating putting him at 34.5 for a little bit. But I was like, nah, he should hit his line. I looked at his last 7 or last 10. He hit at 70%. He was going against a team where he was going to do a lot more playing, and then also Joel Embiid not being there, I thought he was going to give him a little bit more juice there. So I kept it as regular line. I was flirting with 35. I probably should have did it, obviously, but we didn't, and it didn't cash. So it's all good. But as you guys can see, everything else did. So Shea getting 25, self-explanatory. Jaylen Brown was a little sweaty because he was scoring as opposed to getting rebounds and assists. But towards the end of the third and fourth, he ended up starting to cash in there. I added DeMar DeRozan to this play here. The reason why is just because DeMar DeRozan, he came back, and one of the things is I always run back some plays, but on Saturday I played the same exact line, and he didn't even, I think he hit like 15 or 16. I was like, I like to run stuff like that back, and it did me service here. So that's the reason why I ran him back and added him to the slip. But the last player I provided you guys with, of course, is Luka Doncic hitting over 30 points. So that ended up cashing. But let's go over a quick recap of the just the regular stuff that I went over today or yesterday. So I said, Philly would cover the spread. I honestly thought they were going to go under 10, but I did say go with the Philly spread at 16.5. I thought it was a crazy 16.5, but they literally lost by 15, or I think it was at 16 or something like that. So this barely hit. I also said to take Warriors money line and Boston money line. Boston losing to Portland was one of the biggest surprises I've seen in a long time. When I looked at the stats, and I didn't watch the game, but when I looked at everything, I saw it was really just Jaylen Brown doing everything. Everyone else barely got less than 15 points. So if they're going to need wins, they're going to need a lot more players to step up as well. It can't just be one player. We don't see good things happen whenever that happens. So don't blame that. So I was wrong about the Warriors money line, Boston money line. It seemed like a lot of underdogs were winning yesterday. Other than Oklahoma. But either way, I did say Washington plus 7.5, to go with that as well. Them to go under that 240.5, and then Clippers money line, that one cashed as well. And then I thought Sacramento could keep it close. I also thought they were going to keep it under 10, but I said to go with the regular spread, and they got smoked. So these were the ones I was wrong about, but still a pretty good turnout. Nothing too crazy. Still over that 60%. Looking to get over that 70 to 80% here, but we're going to keep ramping up, keep talking through, keep trying to go use that Vegas theory in a sense. But it did seem like a lot of underdogs were winning yesterday. So we'll see. But we'll dive deep into the games here, the game slate. I'll jump into it. I'll try to make it as quickly as possible as well because I know it is a massive NBA slate. So, if there's any more questions, insights, or more that you guys would like, again, feel free to join the Discord completely free, and then also follow me on X as well. But let's jump into the games here. Let's get this ball rolling, and let's cash. All right, so here we go with the first game here. We got an 11-game NBA slate, so I'm going to try to run through this as quickly as possible, just so I'm not babbling like I usually am, and then we'll jump into the player props right after. So first game we got is the Milwaukee Bucks going against Charlotte Hornets. Hornets obviously are looking like is pretty big favorite here that the public's going towards. But they are the underdogs, sitting at plus 135. Milwaukee's minus 150. Got the spread sitting at plus 3.5. Over under sitting at 229.5. So kind of a mid-average scoring game, regular scoring game, 110, 115. One team's going to score more, obviously. But as you guys can see, the public is mostly on Charlotte here. Could be for the plus money, and a lot of underdogs were winning yesterday. And then you also have the majority of people saying that the Milwaukee Bucks are going to cover the spread at that minus 3.5. And then the over-under, majority of people think it's going to be over. This game here is really kind of a toss-up coin flip, honestly, just because most of everything is 50-50. So this game is really going to just take a lot of ball knowledge and really a lot of research and injuries and coaching and things of that nature is kind of ramping up, looking where they're sitting for the season and deciding on that fact. Just based on all of that and also looking at the last five, I mean, the Hornets have won the last two out of the last five, or their last two games before this, and then three out of their last five. And then Milwaukee has won their last two, and they also won their last game against Chicago with that infamous windmills dunk that Giannis did. I would love to know, by the way, what you guys think about that. Leave it in the comments below. I'd love to know you guys' thoughts on if you guys think that was bad for him to do, or didn't really care. It was kind of whatever, or if you guys liked it. I would love to hear kind of your insights on that for sure. But again, just looking at this game here, my first instinct is to go with Milwaukee. I think they just have a lot more juice, a lot more pieces to their puzzle here, and I do think they can win in Charlotte. And then also on top of it, Charlotte did have their 2 wins back to back, and Charlotte is one of those teams, unfortunately, that once they get a couple wins under their belt, they'll get kind of comfortable in a sense. Not really, but they will. And so it's like, if we lose one more game, it's okay. We can still ramp back up. So I think this is going to be a game where Milwaukee does take this. But I do like the Hornets to cover that spread as well. So I am a little bit with the public here. But I would honestly, because it's so close, I would just take the Milwaukee Bucks money line here. So that's what I would take, and going forward from there. Now, next game we do have is the Phoenix Suns going against the Washington Wizards. Obviously, Wizards are at home. But looking at it, of course, the Phoenix Suns are the favorites. The spread is sitting at minus 10.5, and then the over/under sitting at 234.5 as well. So pretty high scoring game. Washington has obviously been a pretty high scoring game, and then if Phoenix is going to win, they have to outscore. So if Washington's scoring, Phoenix is going to score more. I think this could be a pretty high scoring game, honestly. And obviously, we want to look at the money as well. But as you guys can see, most of the money is on Phoenix to win. 65% of the public is on that, which the money is just so juiced. It's sitting at minus 400. The Washington Wizards are plus 380. So it's just too juiced for me to even consider. But a lot of people do think the Washington Wizards can cover the spread. 70%. So they think that they can stay at under that 10 points, which I don't blame them at all. Washington has been pretty surprising. They just beat Memphis. They beat Toronto. They're keeping games close, and a 10-point spread with them is kind of crazy. The only way I can see if they do hit that over, get over 10 or win by 10, is if they have some injuries last minute, right? But if they keep Alex Sarr, if they're keeping the players that continuously are showing improvement and stepping up, I can definitely see Washington Wizards covering this spread for sure at 10 points. So I don't hate that at all. But I will say Phoenix Suns, they are 4 out of their last 5 games. They are ramping up. They beat Pelicans twice. They beat the Lakers, and then they faced Golden State twice and won one, lost one. So, and the one they lost was only by 3. So it was very close. So I could understand why they have the spread the way they do, but I think, if anything, I would just take the Washington. I'm with the public here. I would take Washington spread, maybe juice it a little bit, probably to 13, 14. Honestly, probably 14.5. I see them losing, but maybe not by 15. So probably a 14.5 would probably be my play here. So that's what I'd be looking at in that game. Now, let's jump into the next game. Again, massive slate, so try to run through this as quickly as possible here. But we do have the Golden State Warriors facing the Brooklyn Nets. Brooklyn Nets are at home. Golden State Warriors are the favorites here, sitting at minus 174. Brooklyn Nets plus 150. And then the over-under, or the spread here, is sitting at plus 4.5, and then over/under total sitting at 223.5. So pretty mid-scoring game as well. Not crazy high, not crazy low. So something to keep in mind. Golden State is 3 out of their last 5. They lost their last game against Toronto, which I thought they were going to win, but they are playing back-to-back as well. So they are traveling from Toronto to the Brooklyn today, and then they're going to play again today. So that's something to keep in mind. One thing to keep in mind for the Brooklyn Nets, we do have Cam Thomas back. He scored 30 points on his return game. I think he keeps that momentum up. So that's something to keep in mind too. And then Brooklyn is also 4 out of their last 5 as well. So they're ramping up. They won their last 3. They beat Minnesota. They beat 76ers, and they beat Toronto. Toronto just beat Golden State, and Toronto lost to the Brooklyn Nets. So this is a pretty close game. So I can understand why the spread is the way it is at plus 4.5. It's fairly close, but in my opinion, Just looking at it, I do think, just off rip, I do think Golden State can take this game. With them losing to Toronto, I think they can come back with a vengeance. So I do think they win this game. So I am with the public here. Now, when it comes to the spread, however, I do think I will go just with the Vegas theory. I think I'm going to go against the Golden State Warriors, and I think the Brooklyn Nets can cover the spread. So I do like maybe plus 5.5, plus 6.5 to kind of alternate the spread. That would be my main play here. And then maybe I'll do like a parlay with the Golden State Warriors and like, another team to try to get some juice odds. But to give you guys the play that I would really like for this going against the Vegas in the public here, I really, really do like Brooklyn to cover at least plus 6.5 would be my best look here. And then over under, I will say when I screenshotted this here, everyone was on, it was about 50-50 obviously, but now as I'm looking at it, it is at 77% of most people taking the under for this game. So just be on the lookout for that. 223.5, might be a low scoring game, which I don't blame them either. So a lot of traveling and Brooklyn, they got Cam Thomas. They got to figure out how to work his way in with everybody, not just him. So I know that's going to have to do a lot, but either way, that's what I'm sitting with. Take over the Brooklyn Nets spread. That's what I'll be on tonight. Now, jumping into the next game here, we do have the Denver going against Miami here. As you guys can see, majority of the public is on Denver, but we got Miami at home. So it's a toss-up for me. It's pretty close odds too. This is a game where Denver is at minus 130. Miami is at plus 115. The spread sitting at plus 3.5. And then obviously the total is a very high total here, over under 246.5 or so. So this is a pretty high scoring game. Both teams got to score at least 120 to 125 each for it to get over that 240. So it's massive, like a really, really big slate. But let's follow the money here. Majority of the public obviously is on Denver to win. Which I don't hate that at all. I think maybe, honestly thinking of that Golden State and Denver 2-leg win, I like that there. So I am with the public on this one. And then when it comes down to the spread here, I think honestly 3.5, I think Denver could cover that. So I know a lot of people are on the Miami. Well, not a lot. It's about 50-50. But I think I might go with the Denver to cover this spread here. I know the Miami's at home. They have been ramping up. Just looking at their last two games, they won against Indiana and they won against Atlanta. Those teams aren't really teams to like clap your hands about or give yourself an extreme pat on the back there. It is good wins. It's good for your record, but at the same time, they're not teams that's like you're boasting about, right? So because if we look at good teams they played Toronto, they played New York, and then they played Boston, lost every single one. So, and I think Denver is on the tier of those teams, so I think Denver can win this game outright. Now, where I would really put a main focus here is the over-under. As you guys can see, 66% of the money is on the over. I do think this game hits under. Just 246.5 and 240 is just, that's a lot. So I would probably, I would take that under 246.5. I would take that all day long. So that's something I'd be looking at for that game there. But either way, that's what I'm looking like. That's exactly what I would give you guys. So let's jump into the next game here. We got the New York Knicks going against the New Orleans Pelicans. For this game here, we have the Pelicans obviously at home. New York Knicks is minus 350. Pelicans at plus 290. Spread sitting at plus 9.5. So, they think that the New York Knicks can win by 10 or more. And then we have the over-under total sitting at 247.5. Some apps you can get at 245 or so. So, lingering around, make sure you guys are shopping for the best odds. But let's follow the public here. Obviously, majority of the money is on the Knicks. I don't blame them at all. The line is just too juiced for me to even entertain it, but I do agree the Knicks can win this. Now, majority of the public think that the New Orleans Pelicans can keep this game under 10. I do not blame the public here. I'm actually agreeing with the public a lot more on this slate here, just for some reason. And honestly, like when it comes down to the Vegas theory, right? I know a lot of times we want to fade the public. Typically, that usually works when it's like a game time game, right? Like, or a Showtime game, a primetime game, like when there's only one or two games on for the day and everyone's has the eyeballs on this. Now, when it comes to a slate like this, NBA, it's 11 games. It's hard to keep track and go against and go towards and fade or not fade the public, right? Because when it comes down to that, it's too many games to keep up with, too many games to kind of maneuver through. Excuse me. Too many games to try to get the right ref on the right game. So games like this, I don't really care when it comes to going with the public. Now, typically I would fade the public, but games like this, slates like this, I don't. So I think I'm with the public here. I do think Knicks win, and I do think the New Orleans Pelicans do cover. And then just looking at the over/under again, it's so high of a total, 247.5, and then on top of it as well, this has a lot of blowout potential. So if it is blowout, it's definitely not gonna get over 240 in my opinion. So that's what I would aim. But if you want my actual pick, I do like the spread for New Orleans Pelicans plus 10.5 would be my favorite pick here. So that's what I would go and say for that game. Now let's jump into the next game here. We got Minnesota going against Chicago. Chicago are at home. They are plus 200 as the underdogs, and the Minnesota Timberwolves are minus 225. And then the spread sitting at plus 6.5. Over under is at 240.5. So again, pretty mid-scoring team. Plus that's 120 each. So that's something to keep in mind. And then obviously, let's follow the money. So we have Minnesota as majority as favorites. 90% of the public is on Minnesota, and then we have 80% of the money on Minnesota to cover the spread. Again, the spread is at minus 6.5. So they think Minnesota can win by 7 or more. This is where I'd probably fade the public here. Only reason why is because Chicago is actually a pretty good team. Not saying that Minnesota's a bad team, but just Chicago can get one of those crazy upsets when it comes to massive teams. Just looking at their last 5 games, they have won 4 out of their last 5. They just beat 76ers. They beat Atlanta twice back-to-back and then beat Cleveland. And then Minnesota has lost to Brooklyn and lost to Denver. Now, the only reason why I would say that Minnesota can win is because they are due for a win, honestly. They lost back-to-back games, and I think they're just brewing for a win. So I can't see them coming out winning, but I do like the Chicago Bulls to cover the spread at 6.5. I think this game could be close, maybe on a game winner or so. That's what I would assume, and that's what I would pick for you guys here. So jumping into the next game here, we got Cleveland against San Antonio Spurs. We got Cleveland sitting at the underdogs here at plus 130. San Antonio Spurs is minus 135. They're at home. Makes the most sense here. The spread is sitting at plus 3.5, and then over under at 241.5. So those are some things to keep in mind there. Now, when it comes down to the public, let's check it out. So we have 50% of the money on the Spurs. We have the most of the people on the Cleveland Cavaliers to cover that plus 3.5 spread, and then we have the over under. Majority of the people do like the under for this game, and I don't blame the public liking the under for this game. Makes complete sense. Just 120 is a lot of points. But honestly, just thinking about it, if I could see a team doing it, it could be this team. So this might be one of the games I fade the public on, just because I can see Donovan Mitchell having a game, Darius Garland stepping up. I think Evan Mobley comes back and starts ramping up a little bit more. But then also you have Stephon Castle, you have Wembanyama. I think De'Aaron Fox is still injured, but you have people stepping up in his place. The only way I see this game going under is if it's a blowout to some degree, and I just don't see the Spurs blowing out or even the Cleveland Cavaliers blowing out the Spurs. I think it'll be a pretty high scoring back and forth game as long as the refs let these boys play. So I don't mind the over here. I would take it at that 240.5. That's probably where I would sit here with. Now, when it comes to winning or spread, this game is just too close for me to even decide. So I think I'm going to stick with the total on this one when it comes to the decision. So my favorite play for this game would be that over 240.5. So that's what I'll be looking at there. Now, jumping into the next game here, we got Atlanta going against Oklahoma. Oklahoma, of course, are the extreme favorites. They are sitting at minus 1,000 just about when it comes to the favorites here. Atlanta's plus 800. And then we have the spread sitting at plus 16.5. Over under is sitting at 237. So this game has a lot of blowout potential. You guys know me when it comes to blowout potential. I always love to do the under for these games. And it just makes the most sense. Atlanta have not won any games in the last 5. They have not won any games since Trae Young has come back. And on top of it, too, just looking at Oklahoma, they need to start ramping wins back up. They were winning like crazy in the beginning of the season, and since they played the Spurs, they've just been losing, right? So they lost to the Spurs twice, and then after the Spurs, they lost against Minnesota, and then lost against the Spurs again, right? So these things happen, and it's continuously ramping up. They need to get some more wins under their belt. So I am 100% with the public here, that the Oklahoma City are gonna take this game. The only way I see people picking the Atlanta is just for maybe odds. They might try to do a lot of plus EV, but there's just no way that Atlanta's winning here. Now, when it comes to covering the spread is just massive. Plus 16.5. I think I'm with the public here. I do think Atlanta covers. I mean, that's just a massive. I just can't see Atlanta losing by 15. They're not that bad of a team. They just haven't been able to ramp up together, get that morale and gain chemistry enough to start winning together. But that's going to eventually come to a halt. So I do think the Atlanta Hawks, my favorite play would be for the Atlanta Hawks to cover, and then obviously take the under for this game. I'm not taking the Oklahoma City under money line. It's just way too juiced. There's just 0 point to take that. So I do like the Atlanta Hawks to cover that 16.5. All right, now jump to the next game here. We got Indiana Pacers going against Houston Rockets. Indiana Pacers plus 750 underdogs. Wow. And then Houston Rockets at minus 850. The spread sitting at plus 15.5 for the Indiana Pacers, and then over under sitting at 222.5. So really low scoring game for this one. That's like 110 each. So really, really low scoring game. We do have the Indiana Pacers that have not won a game in their last 5, and then Houston have won their last 2, and they're 3 out of their last 5. So something to keep in mind there. This game, I'm probably with the public down to the T. The only way I'm not with the public is with the spread. The spread is just massive. 90% of the people think that the Houston Rockets are going to win by 15 or more. I think the Pacers can at least cover that. If Vegas would make the most money here, it would be if the Indiana does cover. I mean I can 100% see Houston winning. I think they win, but for some reason Pacers might be able to blow under a 15. 16.5 or 15.5 is just crazy to me. Pretty high. I think Pacers got a little bit more dignity than that. So hopefully I'm right about that. We'll see. And then I do like this game to go under, especially with blowout potential. So that's what I'll be sitting with. Pacers plus 15.5 is my favorite play for that game. So let's get into this game here. The last game of the slate, we have Dallas against Portland Trailblazers. So the Mavs are the underdogs for this game, plus 120. And then we have the Portland Trailblazers at minus 135. We have the spread sitting at plus 3.5, and then over under is at 232. So pretty good scoring game. This is a regular scoring game, honestly. This might be good for some good player props here. Let's look at the last 5. So Dallas have lost 4 out of their last 5. Portland has won 2 out of their last 5. So they just won their last game against Boston. That was a crazy win. So they may be ramping up the wins, or they might be feeling some good energy since they just won last night against Boston. They may bring that energy onto this game. But I do think, just looking at it, Dallas are due for a win. I think they went on a win streak a couple weeks ago, and I think they are pretty due for a win here. So I can see them upsetting, but if they upset, Vegas would not be very happy here. They would have to pay out a lot because majority of the money is on Dallas here to win. As you guys can see, they do think they can cover the spread, and then they think this game will go under. I do like the game to go over here. I mean, 232 is not that much to ask for. It's about 115. And then one team to score more. And just looking at it, I mean, Dallas has scored 107 their last game, 116 the game before that. They scored 131 the game before that, 119, and then 114. So they can linger around that 115, 112 area and higher. And now let's look at the Portland. So Portland, they scored 114, 103, 106, 102. So if they don't go over this game, it'll be because of Portland. But I do like the over for this game. There's something about it where I think Portland can start ramping up from that win they had yesterday against Boston. I think they can ramp that up and continuously that momentum. So I do like the over on that 232. But I do like Dallas. I might sprinkle on the money line as well with the public here. I do like Dallas to take this win. So that's what I'll be looking at here. So, and I did forget about one game here. I was looking through it. I was like, wait, did I forget a game? That was only 10 games. And sure enough, it was. So let me go over there at Orlando Magic against the Toronto Raptors really quick. So obviously the Raptors, we're sitting at plus 105. They are the underdogs. Orlando Magic is at 120. This game is super close. Spread sitting at 1.5 to 2, so super close. And then the over under is sitting at 219.5. So again, low scoring game, super close game. I think this is going to be honestly a battle to the last minute shot, could be potential. But I will say the Toronto Raptors, they did just win against the Golden State Warriors in a 141 win. This man, Scotty Barnes, had an amazing game. 25 rebounds is ridiculous. I don't even see Jokic getting that 25 rebounds. I'm sure he's done it before, but that's just crazy insane for someone like a Scotty Barnes to get 25 rebounds. So what one hell of a game that Scotty Barnes performed, and I think they can keep that momentum up here. So this is actually an underdog play that I really do like. I think I am with the public here when it comes to going with the Toronto Raptors money line, and then just looking at the spread here, when it comes down to it, they think that Orlando can win by 2 or more. I think I think I'm on Toronto all the way here. Orlando just hasn't been really showing me much excitement, to be honest with you. Paolo Banchero mostly, but they need Paolo to perform, if they're going to win. And Paolo just has not been doing his thing. Maybe he bounces back today. But either way, if he still performs the same way, I think Toronto can really, really take this game away. And then also RJ Barrett is returning as well, or he already has, and he's ramping back up. So that's another piece to Toronto for them to continue that momentum as well. So I think I'm 100% on Toronto. I do like Toronto to cover. I do like Toronto to win. And then when it comes down to the over-under for this game, this game is just so low to me. It's at 219.5. I do like the over for this game, so I think I might fade the public when it comes down to the total. So they just scored 141 that last game, and they're gonna have the same pieces. They're still at home. They're gonna be rested. They're not traveling anytime. Like they're not traveling anywhere. They're staying right in Toronto. So I think I do like the over, and I do like Toronto winning all outright. So now. Appreciate you guys tuning in for that. I'm going to jump into my 4 favorite player props here and go over exactly why I like them. And then I might have a bonus play for you guys as well, so stay tuned. All right, so now let's dive into the player props here. This is my 4 favorite player props on the day. It is a 5X on Prize Picks if you want to play that. So 100 would pay 500, 25 pays 100, 125, so $100 profit, and so on and so forth. So not a bad play in my opinion here, and we can take a quick look at it. So we got Cam Thomas at 21.5 PRA. I was really deciding whether to do Cam Thomas PRA or Cam Thomas points at 16.5. I like both, but when I was diving into the research, it seemed like Cam Thomas PRA would be the best bang for your buck when it comes down to pricing and then obviously outcome. So I was like, all right, let me give the PRA to the people. But if you guys do like his points at 16.5 or even at 15, I do recommend doing that as well. I think he continues to ramp that up. Then we also have Shai Gilgeous at 24.5. I think he just keeps that momentum. I mean, it's Shai. I don't really have to go into much detail. I think I'm just going to keep riding this wagon as much as possible. So 25 points. Let's keep that rock and rolling. And then we have Kevin Durant at 34.5 PRA. I'll show you exactly why I picked that play. I think his regular line's at 36.5. So only lowered it about 1.5. So still keeping it pretty high. And then Giddey at 15.5. Rebounds and assists. I think this is a night where he can get or sprinkle or even flirt with a triple double. Even if he does get a triple double, maybe he gets 9 and 9. That's still over that 15.5. So I do really like these plays, but let me show you guys the reasons why. Right? I know you guys want to see it. So the first things first, we have Cam Thomas, 21.5. If you look at his last 10 games, he has a 70% hit rate. He went over that like crazy last night or last time they played. He had 30 points and then he had 7 rebounds and assists, or combined 7 rebounds and assists. So I think he can ramp that continuously up. Even if he scores 15 points and then still continues to get his 7 rebounds and assists while he's playing, he's already hitting 24 or more. So I think honestly he can hit 20 points himself, and then he can just get a few rebounds or assists throughout the game. So I do think he hits this. This is one of my favorite props of the night. So as you guys can see, that's the reason why. Now, jumping into it as well, Shai, I really feel like I don't need to go into much discussion when it comes to Shai. He's hit this at a 90% hit rate. The only time he hasn't hit it was against San Antonio Spurs, but this man averages 25 plus points. I think it's more closer to 30 points, and I think tonight is honestly a night where he can get his 30. I know I said to go for his 30 yesterday. He was super close, 27. It was a blowout game, so there's no point for him to continue to play hard and tough, but if they keep this game close, which Atlanta may come out with a surprise, I think he can get his 30 points as well. And then they also let a lot of points go to the point guard position when it comes to the Atlanta Hawks. So that's another reason why I think he can blow past this 25, but he can also get 30 if you like that. Next game we have Kevin Durant as well, PRA 34.5. So he's hit this 70% of the time out of his last 10. Also, the last two times he played the Indiana Pacers, he hit 34 or 30, 37, and then he hit 41 or 142 or something like that. So it was really close. All I'm trying to say is that he hit this line both times he played Indiana, and then also Indiana lets the most points up out of every single team, and they have a really bad defense when it comes down to the power forward, small forward position. So I really do like the Kevin Durant play. I lowered it a little bit just because it's starting to get plus odds, get the 36.5. I think the end line will probably be at 37. It's a little too high for me. I can see him pulling Tyrese Maxey. What Tyrese Maxey did to me yesterday, it still hurts. So I lowered this one, because I learned my lesson from yesterday with Tyrese Maxey. We're going to keep this at 34.5. I do think he hits that. Obviously, the data shows that he can. And last but not least, we have Josh Giddey. Josh Giddey to hit over 15.5, PRA here, or not PRA, but rebounds and assists. He's hit this at a 60% clip in his last 10 games. And again, I think he just continues to ramp up. He's hit this line his last 4 games, and I think he can hit it again this game. So I think he's due for a triple-double as well. So if you want to sprinkle on that, that's something to keep in mind as well. But those are the players, props I'm thinking of. Now, let me get into this last play here. I really do want to give you guys a bonus play just because of the Tyrese Maxey losing by 0.5 from yesterday. So I'm going to give you guys a bonus play. Let me know what you guys think in the comments here below, and then let me know if you guys are going with or fading with. So let me jump into that really quick. So here is my bonus play for the day. We have Stephon Castle over 6.5 assists. He's hit this game in his last 2. He's hit this 60% out of his last 10. And I think he continuously with the ramping back up as well with De'Aaron Fox. If De'Aaron Fox is still out and Wembanyama is starting again, I think he could hit this line once more. So I really do like this line. If you guys want to lower it like how I usually do, you could put it at maybe 6. I will say him getting 6 assists is sitting at minus 335, which tells me that he can get one more extra throughout the day, especially with Wembanyama playing, and they're also going against the Cleveland Cavaliers, which I think this game is going to be close and high scoring. So this is a great spot for him, and I think he can really perform. So those are all the plays here. I know I gave you guys my 4, but these are with them all when it comes down to every single play, including the bonus play. And this is a total of a 9x on PrizePicks if you want to play it all the way outright. I hope you guys cash. I hope all of this was helpful. If you guys want, go ahead and join the Discord. It is completely free. Go ahead and download in the comment section. Let me know which plays you like, which you don't like. Again, tell me about that Scotty Barnes performance if you guys just like that. And then also, I would want to know your thoughts about the Giannis Antetokounmpo's windmill dunk against Chicago. I'd love to know your insights and more about that. So appreciate you guys tuning in. Appreciate you guys letting me go. I'll see you guys on the next episode, and have a good cash out Monday. Later.